Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Cougars show. I'm Chris.
I'm Kieran.
And today we are going to be looking at the fixture list. So specifically we're going to talk about each team's first 4 fixtures in a bit more detail. We're also going to reveal our latest draft. So this is going to be actually the first of 2 parts fixture review. So we're going to look at 10 teams today. Arsenal, Villa, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Palace, Everton, Fulham, Leeds and Leicester. We're doing things alphabetically here. As always, a couple of things to sort of chit-chat about before we get into the show. We just wanted to say if you're a new watcher, then welcome indeed. And we're going to be doing a show, as last couple of seasons, we're doing every weekly preview. That's out on Spotify, SoundCloud, and of course here on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss anything, hit subscribe right now. You can also find us at FPL Cougars on Twitter, and we're both pretty active on there. Also, we've activated the FPL Cougars mini league. I think there's about 10 million people in it right now, so it's severe bragging rights if you win. The code to join is in the description of whatever you're listening to right now. And we've done so poorly, haven't we? I've done poorly. Like my final rank in the Cougars mini league last year was shocking.
Really, I think I got poor. Like top 100 at least.
Did you? Oh, nice.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad for me.
Mine was awful. Right. And finally, now then, this is new for this season. So, Kieran and I are happy to sort of share that we've been made affiliates of Fantasy Football Hub. We've got a video up on screen right now. So, basically, we've just been offered the chance to share and use their site, the member benefits for all of our viewers. So you can sign up yourself. There's a link in the description. We've been using the site maybe for the last 2 seasons, been members ourselves, just to make notes for the show. So anything you read or anything you hear from us is usually come from there. So, I mean, what's your favourite part of using the site? Because I'm just all over those stats.
I mean, basically it's got everything a fantasy head could ever need for a fantasy football for Sky and all that stuff as well. It's got all those different competitions. And yeah, it's got the stats, the player comparisons, the fixture ticker. It's got Ben Crellin's Excel sheets that you could ever need, and all his double game week stuff. It's just the captaincy articles, everything. It's just it's all there for someone, and it's been very good for us. And we've got pretty much all of our stats there from there in the last few years. So yeah, love it, and you should sign up too.
Yeah, well, first of all, Ben Crillin's just like a freak of nature. The way he turns out those fixtures so quick. But I mean, I'd never really been using a membership fantasy site in the last 2 years, or before the last 2 years. And between us, we've had some pretty good finishes, and I think it due in part has helped. So if you like taking your fantasy seriously and like looking and reading about stats, then it's the one for you. I think between us in the last 2 seasons, we've had 3 out of 4 finishes in the top 30,000, which is pretty good going. So yeah, if you want to take it more seriously. Anyway, I'll stop harping on about that now. We'll do our team reveals, drafts. We'll put them up on screen right now, and just talk a little bit more about the fixtures, because they got released. What day was it? Earlier in the week?
Thursday, I believe.
Was it Thursday? Yeah. And we've so been having some time to think about it, reconfiguring our drafts. Is there anything that sort of really caught your eye straight away when you were looking at them, or any teams that popped out?
Well, I think Wolves fixtures are great. Spurs fixtures are good to start with. Fulham's are really good. Yeah. Liverpool aren't that bad. They've got sort of tough-ish fixtures, but I think they're obviously kind of fixture-proof. And obviously the blanks in week 1 have been confirmed as well. So there's 4 teams obviously blanking, which is Aston Villa, Burnley, Man United and Man City, isn't it?
That's right,
so, just there's that to consider now, which is obviously not ideal. And, I don't think we've ever really needed to deal with a blank in game week 1 before. No. So, it's going to be interesting.
No, definitely. Yeah, I was surprised. I suppose we still don't really know if they're going to be moved to midweek and reinserted, do we? Those
they haven't
fixtures.
Said anything. So I assume not, no.
Yeah, that's affected my drafts, as you can imagine, because I had KDB and Bruno happily sitting in there. But it's difficult because you don't really want to plan to make a couple transfers just for game week 2. So, and they're such high price points, it's going to be tricky to wiggle them in and out there.
Yeah, I think Man City's game week 2 fixtures is Wolves, so it's not. I don't think anyone has to rush to get them for that week. So my sort of plan is to move just a Bruno in for the Palace fixture, and then then start to look at the City assets from week 3.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Should we start by talking about someone who you might look to downgrade, and perhaps Aubameyang and Arsenal, because they travel away obviously to Fulham on game week 1. Are you seeing like their fixture run? It gets a bit tricky, doesn't it? Maybe even after game week 2.
Yeah, so it's obviously Fulham, as you said, and then West Ham at home, and then they've got Liverpool in week 3 away, and then Sheffield United at home. So the Sheffield United one could be okay, but you wouldn't expect many goals. No. Obviously, the Liverpool one, you'd expect them. Maybe they might get a goal, but it's not going to be free-flowing for Arsenal, that's for sure. No. And they're probably going to concede. So I think the first 2 fixtures are probably the best 2 fixtures out of all teams to start with. And yeah, I think Aubameyang is got to be in your team. It doesn't have to be, but he is kind of
it'd be scary to overlook.
He's booking in a transfer from game week 3, to be honest. But I don't mind that, to be honest. If I can get a KDB or a Raz for him and sort of own him for these 2 fixtures and possibly captain him one, maybe, then yeah, I'm happy with that. So the last season results in these fixtures for Arsenal.
Oh yeah.
They had the 1-0 loss, home win against West Ham, which is obviously their week 2 fixture. So they obviously don't know about the Fulham games, or they haven't played them last year. But So and then the Liverpool game, they lost 3-1 away, and then against Sheffield United at home, they drew 1-1. So not particularly great form, and not particularly a lot of goals for them in those fixtures. So, but there's that Fulham game, who obviously are going to, we assume, concede quite a few. And obviously Arsenal did look a lot better at the end of last season, defensively and attacking-wise. And Aubameyang was close to that golden boot. So I'd expect him to... has he even signed the new contract yet? I think it must be soon.
I think it's going to be soon. He put that little sort of post up on Twitter, didn't he, with like the sands of time thing. And so I'd imagine it's going to be soon. Yeah,
so I'm thinking Aubameyang... He's a possible captaincy shout. It's just if you really want to go for it instead of someone like Salah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in for sure. And then someone else I think who's been mentioned, who I've seen in a few drafts, was Tierney, who ended the season well as well. 5.5 million, 37 points in the post-lockdown, 1 goal, 2 assists, 2 clean sheets, 4 shots, 3 in the box. And he was actually playing as part of like a back 3, wasn't he? So for 4 shots and 1 goal and 2 assists as part of the back 3 is really good. So I quite like him if you can afford him. Maybe in the sort of spot for Doherty, if you can keep 5 million and you want to book another transfer, Tierney up to Doherty from game week 2 or 3 could be really good as well. So I quite like that.
Yeah, I think that their first 2 fixtures as a group look really good. So the Fulham side last year, I think of the 3 sides that are coming up, they conceded the highest number of goals last season. West Ham kept 2 clean sheets in David Moyes' 19 matches in charge of them last season. So I think there's some really good fixtures there to open to target. Like you say, they do get a bit tough after that. So I think they meet 4 of last season's top 5 and Sheffield United between game weeks 3 and 7. So that is, it's a really tricky run. I think we've sort of touched on Aubameyang's merits a little bit there, but just to recap for anyone that didn't watch our show last week, we had a look at the points. So he's overperformed his expected points by 7% since joining the Premier League a couple seasons back. So let's say if he continues this, he should receive or end on at about 231 points this campaign. So, I mean, it does make him kind of, I think, worth that 12 million. But something you just mentioned there is quite interesting, is saying whether you'd captain him over Salah despite having these fixtures. And I think that's going to be quite a big key as to whether people include him in their teams. Because if you get a 12 million player in your team who you're not confident of captaining, then that seems like a lot of your budget in a non-captainable player. So that might be an interesting point for people to consider.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I'd rather not own him, and I think, rather not own him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he for me, he's in there because I can easily get to Bruno from him, or KDB and Raz, and just have those 2 fixtures to just hopefully get a big amount of points from him. And I think that West Ham at home fixture seems they're always good at home. Arsenal, even when they've been had poor seasons, they've always been consistent at home.
Yeah.
So I think that West Ham fixture looks pretty good because Liverpool play Chelsea in week 2. So you need to find a captain somewhere else next week for game week 2. So. Obviously, Bruno to Palace could be good as well. But yeah.
Target some nice big early juicy fixtures there. Salah was just mentioned on the defensive side of things. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right there. So 2 of Arsenal's sort of 4.5 million defenders are currently injured, there could be a bargain for Saliba. So he was signed for 26 million at the age of 18, loaned out to St Etienne. He's back now. He looks like he's always mooted to be sort of like the long-term project, right-hand side of the Arsenal defence. And I think it's Chambers and Mustafi both out. He could feature, especially in pre-season, and then it'll be sort of up to him whether he impresses or not to see if he can squeeze into their game week 1 team. But yeah, one to keep an eye on for sure.
Like him.
Yeah. Villa, they've got a rough start, haven't they?
They do, yeah. Obviously, they blank week 1, which is not ideal to start with. So obviously, you probably are not going to buy any of them at the start, or at least from game week 1. Then Sheffield United at home to start their actual season. Then Fulham away, which is obviously pretty decent, and then Liverpool at home for the first 4. Not ideal, but their sort of results for last season in these fixtures was 0-0 draw with Sheffield United, and then only a 1-2 loss at home to Liverpool. So, I mean, their defence sort of increased and did a lot better at the end of the season. So, if they can continue that at all, I think these 3 games could be okay for them, actually. I mean, you're probably, like I said, you're probably not going to own any of them for a while just because of this blank. It's going to prohibit you getting them in. Maybe you could bench one of the defenders for game week 1, but that's asking a lot because Sheffield United can score, and Fulham can score. Mitrovic is obviously going to look to score. So, I think they might be a void for the time being. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there a little bit. So rotations at this stage of the season is always interesting to see which sort of cheap defences can rotate. And like you say, Villa have a blank game week 1, but they rotate really quite nicely with Crystal Palace over the course of the season. So anyone with Ferguson in their team, maybe for game week 1 at 4 million, they could combine him with one of their Villa players. Now, there's admittedly, like I say, their defence improved in the Project Restart. I think they looked just certainly a lot better. So I think someone like Matt Target might be a decent benchable player. 4.5 million. He had an expected points of 121 last season, only managed 80. So, I mean, that's quite a big drop off. He's probably their best bet going forward. Scored the most points after Ings last season. So, yeah, but otherwise, I don't really see that early investment in Villa, really.
And it's criminal that Mings is 5 million.
Yeah, that was crazy.
5 million for Mings. Aston Villa, like, what the hell?
I know.
Doesn't make any sense.
When you can get players in the Arsenal defence, you can get players in the Spurs defence for 5 million. Oh, it's mad. Yeah. Yep. Well, Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, obviously, the only player that most of us really ever owned last season from Villa was Grealish, who obviously 7 million this year, had a small price hike because he obviously did pretty well. 8 goals, 7 assists, and 149 points from him for a team that was, I think, 17th. Only just survived. 8 goals, 7 assists for him is really quite good. He had a season-wide XG of 6.89 and an XA of 8.22 with 91 key passes, 9 big chances created, and 7 big chances himself, with 19 bonus. And compared to someone like Maddison at the same sort of price point, their stats are actually incredibly similar. So you could do a lot worse at 7 million. And if you're sort of banking in someone like that for a Greenwood swap or something, obviously they're not playing the first week, but a Greenwood sort of placeholder or Foden placeholder, then Grealish is not too bad.
I'll tell you what.
I think we'll probably own him at some point this year, basically.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny, but we'll talk about Maddison a bit more later, but going back to Grealish, there was so much talk of him leaving if they go down, but we've not really heard anything. And I kind of think he's probably going to stay, and if he stays, he's the most important player in that side. Hopefully they'll have a bit of money to strengthen the squad, but the fixtures aren't great. But like you say, some point this season, he's going to come into his own and I'm sure be a must-have at some point.
We both had him when he was scoring goals, didn't we? And we did well on him. We both got on him quite early and profited. So hopefully that happens again, because I like watching him. He's a good player.
Yeah, definitely. No, we'll have to see. I blanked a minute ago when I was thinking about their defensive stats. I did write them down. I just couldn't see them. But yeah, their Project Restart ones, just to keep an eye on Matt Targets, they had 3 clean sheets in the 9 games he came back. So they certainly improved, and that was probably part of the reason they stayed up. I think, didn't they keep Arsenal out? Didn't they win 1-0 in that game? I think that was quite a good result for them towards the end of last season. Yep. So maybe don't write off their defence just yet. But yeah, maybe the fixture's a bit too tricky. All right. Brighton. Now, it's funny because I was looking at Brighton at the start of the season and think, some real cheap enablers in there. And looking more closely at the fixtures and comparing it back to last season, I now know why there are cheaper enablers, because not impressed with any of their points last season. I mean, Ryan Geek had 135, and that was the highest. I was thinking, maybe I'll try and mention something about Mapai or Lallana being interesting, but Mapai scored less than Ryan last season. He's a full 2 million more at 6.5, takes up a striker slot. And Lallana, whose best season was like 6-7 years ago in the Premier League, 179. I think he was playing in a good Saints side at that time. I just gone off Brighton a little bit, especially with these fixtures. Have you done the same?
I mean, yeah, Chelsea, Newcastle away, Man United at home, Everton away. It's not looking good for them. I was considering someone like Lamptey as well as sort of a rotational in defence, but it's like Chelsea. Obviously, we know that Brighton can sort of be good defensively at times. They can prop up with some surprises, and it's sort of Brighton-esque to maybe keep Chelsea out on the first day when everyone's sort of suspecting a massive goal fest from Chelsea. And obviously that Newcastle game in week 2 looks like their best chance of a clean sheet in the first 4. But then again, that's probably going to be a 0-0. So, Newcastle home form last year was very good as well.
Yeah,
so, you can't say Mopai is going to be a good choice for any of these or any of their players at this point, because Mopai obviously has not been prolific through last season. So like you said, 9 clean sheets last year for them out of 38. The Ryan and Button combos looking less appealing every day. Their XG for the season was 48.36, was 15th of all teams. So the fixtures actually their results last year were not actually that bad for these fixtures. So it was a 1-1 against Chelsea in a home draw. Newcastle away was obviously 0-0, as I pretty much said, predicted there. And then they lost 3-0 to Man United when Man United were kind of on form at the post-lockdown. And then they had a 1-0 Everton away loss. They only conceded like 5 goals there, which in those 4 fixtures isn't too bad. So maybe we're writing them off a little early, but we expect Chelsea, Man United and Everton to probably do them in a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking this whole time with all Chelsea's new players, they're just going to turn up game week 1 and put on a show. And it's going to be a 2 or 3 goal margin, but you never know because it's new.
They're not going to have any time to gel together, really.
No.
And obviously they're still signing people, so the first 11 are probably not going to be bedded in for at least 2-3 weeks.
No, it's probably a fair call. But maybe the players from last season will come through for Chelsea. We don't know. Could have Mount and Tammy starting. Can you imagine?
I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
I don't think so. I think Mount should start for sure. I think Mount will start instead of obviously Pulisic if he's injured for that long.
Yeah.
Pulisic can't be that far away. Like his hamstring was like probably a 3 to 4 week thing, so he should be getting close to fitness again. And I doubt he misses much at the start of the season. No. But anyway, we're talking about Brighton.
Yeah. Should we finish talking about Brighton? Because they're not exciting. I've got nothing more to add than their lack of inspiring options. Should we talk about Burnley next? Slightly more interesting.
Yeah, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So they start off with a blank as well. After that, they got games against Leicester, Southampton and Newcastle. I think the case for Pope took a little bit of a hit with the release of the fixture. So he's owned by a lot of people, actually. 27% of the game, 5.5 million, of course, now. So he could perform better than the usual sort of 5.5 goalkeepers in his range. But the fact that anyone looking at a goalkeeper of Pope's price, so 5.5 or him himself, paired with a 4 million goalkeeper, of which there are no starters, just looking from a purely funds point of view, basically putting you at 9.5 million for your 2 goalkeepers would mean you don't have any or goalkeeper playing in game week 1, which is it's not really a great start to the season, is it, if you're just going to field 10. So I think pairing Pope with a 4.5 million, spending 10 million on your 2 goalkeeper slots is surely too much money. So I think that's taken a bit of the shine off Pope's appeal, really, for me.
Yeah, I imagine that 27% is a lot of auto selects at this point. People are going to see that he's not playing.
Yeah.
At least I hope they will. Otherwise, like 10 million on keepers, like you say, it is too much.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, beyond the blank, the fixtures are somewhat mixed, really. So like I said, they've got Leicester away, Spurs at home, and those are probably the trickier 2. But after that, they've got a run of Southampton, Newcastle, West Brom between game weeks 3 and 5. So it doesn't look too bad. I kind of more leaning towards, like I mentioned on the show the other day, someone like Charlie Taylor. So I think it maybe their schedule suits better a 4.5 defensive rotation rather than sort of like a costly one-off investment like Tarkowski or Pope. So I mean, we know that defensive resilience was good last season, joint second most clean sheets after Man City. So yeah, the Burnley pair well with Leicester, and they offer up James Justin, I think, at 4.5 million, who's the same price as Charlie Taylor. So there could be a good sort of defensive rotation between those two, because Leicester, they themselves have some good fixtures. So yeah, they might be a nice little pair to run with at the start of the season. Charlie Taylor, obviously first choice left back. He averaged 3.8 points per 90 minutes last season, which is the third best of all defenders under 5 million. So I think you'd probably be better looking at someone like that on your sort of from the Burnley side of things and benching for game week 1.
Yeah, anytime they face a lower side table, you think there's the chance of a big clean sheet there.
Yeah.
And obviously Pope getting bonus, obviously, and Charlie Taylor nailed on 6-pointer seems pretty good as a sort of 4.5 rotation defender with a James Justin. That seems that is in my squad at the moment, and I quite like that. But someone else just to quickly mention is Chris Word at 6.5 million. Amazingly, how many goals do you think he actually scored? I don't know if you saw this last season.
I don't know. I'd probably say about 10. I haven't seen
he got
it.
14 goals, which is, I think,
not
for
bad,
a
is
team
it?
that generally doesn't score that many, and he missed quite a few games for injury. 14 goals, 1 assist, 136 points. So I think that's surprisingly good. If he's fit all season, and he obviously will be nailed on, then that's could he get towards 18 goals? Is that?
I don't know, how much did he miss? Do you know how many minutes he played out of the 3,200?
I didn't write that down, but I think he missed at least 6 to 8 games, something like that. So, if he is nailed on, then it's something like an 18 goal striker from Burnley would be crazy. And if they weren't blanking, I would very much consider him, because Leicester, Southampton, Newcastle, those are decent fixtures for them. Anyway, like, he's not an option because they are blanking first of all, but eventually he could be someone we're all going to consider at some point. Those Burnley strikers always sort of troll us, but we always sort of want to get
Barnes did me over last season. I thought he was like the second coming of Christ when I got him in. I was like, oh yeah, Ashley Barnes is the main man. But no, Chris Wood's stats, I just had a quick look. So he played 4,236 minutes. The maximum is about 3,200 and something. So he's missed about 800 minutes of football. So I suppose if he kept that rate up, you'd definitely expect all those appearance points to go up, at least to about 150. So yeah, he could be a shrewd little investment. I had comparing him with someone who we're going to talk about in a minute, Mitrovic, who is 6 million. Have you got in your draft? I think I've got in mine at the minute. Mitrovic.
Moment, yeah.
So he, for the Fulham team that got relegated, as a small comparison, he got 140 points in Fulham's last season in the league. So that's rough, and he played a lot of the minutes in that one. I think he nearly played all of them. So yeah, that's probably someone similar price you might be looking at. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but yeah, maybe Chris Wood isn't too bad for those mixed fixtures. Any more to add on Burnley?
No, let's move on.
All right, do you want to talk about Chelsea? Because a lot of interest in them.
Of course. So yeah, the fixtures: Brighton away to start with, Liverpool at home, West Brom away, and then Crystal Palace at home. So 3 of the first 4 very favourable.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see them probably scoring in the Liverpool game as well, considering everyone they're buying at this point.
It's a nice game for them.
Yes, true. Obviously, so the results last time for these fixtures were 1-1 draw away from Brighton, which doesn't sound good from our perspective for buying their FPL assets. And then a 1-2 loss at home to Liverpool, and then a 2-0 win to Crystal Palace at home. Looks okay. This is at the sort of time where they weren't being prolific at all. So, their post-lockdown form was definitely their best sort of form, I think, for goals and stuff like that. So with Pulisic going well. Across the season, they had 75 big chances created, which was only 3rd behind City and Liverpool. And that was with, Tammy, Giroud, all those sort of people playing.
Yeah.
And, they're getting Ziyech, Havertz, Werner, Pulisic, Mount. These are going to be doing bits. Chilwell's coming in. Havertz possibly coming in, as I just said. Huge lineup. They should challenge with that team, especially.
Wow, just their
with how much they're
defence.
spending.
It's their defence. I don't think Chilwell's going to improve their defence. Like their defensive numbers, which I've looked at, I think they had I think it was 8 clean sheets last season. I mean, Watford got relegated with 9. I mean, I don't think
Brighton got more.
Yeah, did they really? Oh,
Yeah,
well, yeah. I don't think you can challenge for the. They're going to have a great attacking team. I mean, I think was thinking this when I was looking at which Chelsea players to include, but like when you think that they created all those chances last season and were so prolific, they're almost now going to have a totally new front three for this season. And and maybe even some players in behind jostled around a little bit, but how is that going to affect their attacking effort? We just don't know. So whilst it's good to look at last season with Chelsea, I kind of feel like Frank's freshened things up so much, it's going to be really difficult to predict how they gel.
They're looking at Thiago Silva as well for a free from PSG.
Really?
So
wow.
yeah, that could be a thing. And apparently he's not like sort of against it. He's just looking at the Champions League final at the moment. But they've had talkings and he's been offered to Chelsea apparently. So
oh wow.
Yeah, that could be a thing which could help them. But Thiago Silva's got issues at the back as well. I think so. It's just another mistake-prone defender for another one, I think. So
he's a bit older now as well.
Experience and he is old, but he's got experience and leadership, I suppose, which would help them.
Yeah.
So a double up in attack maybe seems viable. Ziyech, Werner, or both, possibly. I mean, Werner seems good because he won't have to lose points from the clean sheet going.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to try and think that I like Ings there more and just have Ziyech in midfield instead, because Ings might be better value at the start. I don't know. It's hard. I want to see a few preseason games with them. Hopefully they have a couple that we can see them all actually starting in. Yeah. And see how Werner and Ziyech do. And I want to own Pulisic at some point this season as well. Because post-lockdown stats, only 4 people or 5 players actually scored more points than him. So he got 4 goals, 5 assists, and 57 points.
That's good, isn't
23 shots, 5 big chances, 11 key passes, 3 big chances created. His XG was 3.24 and an XA of 2.24. So those are good stats for someone at 8.5 million, and I like him. And hopefully he's not injured for too long. Yeah.
I think the reason I'm still a bit Werner's in my team because he's owned by a lot of people and it's like, ooh, a big name Chelsea striker. But I kind of feel like until we actually see them play a little bit, same with Ziyech, I can't fully back them. Like Werner's stats were incredible. I just to mention ones you sort of picked up the other day. So he had that last season, XG of 23.4, which was higher than any other player in the Premier League last season by comparison. Sort of Salah had 21, Vardy 20, Aubameyang 16. And admittedly it was in the German league. So obviously he's got to transfer that. But he could be, especially with the amount of chances they were creating last season, again stating, he could be like an 18 to 20 goal a season striker, which for 9.5 million is not too bad. But until we know about it, until we know who's going to take penalties, how involved in the play is he Lampard going to change the formation? There's a lot of questions there, and you like certainty with your FPL pick. So I kind of feel like I would almost feel happier having Pulisic over those other two because I know a bit about him and he's got goal threat.
The ceiling is there. He's got the ceiling for hauls, whereas someone like Ings at the point a million less usually only gets like the customary 9 points. Whereas Werner seems like he's got a few hat tricks in his career. Yeah, he seems to be, especially with those first 3 fixtures. I mean, Giroud and Tammy staying means he's probably going to be coming off at the 70-minute point, I would guess, which is an issue in itself. But this is not. We're talking about fixtures more than players right now. But I still like him. Still like their attack. I think you probably need to have at least one.
No, definitely, because they could batter a few teams. So just to pick up again on the fixtures. So I think in between game weeks 1 and 9, they faced 7 clubs who finished either 9th or lower last season, and that includes West Brom. The reason I sort of mention the defence a little bit is 4 of the 6 sides that registered the fewest shots in the box last season play Chelsea in that time period. So they could be a good reason to include some defensive assets, but I say that with big sort of but they didn't look too good last season at the back. I
We
think
have no idea who'd be nailed either. James isn't nailed. Aspie's issue as well because we don't know if he's nailed. Alonso obviously isn't now. Chilwell, who knows?
I think Chilwell would be nailed if they spend 50 million on a left back. I think you'd have to play.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have a look at those two. So Aspas is 6 million, which is the same I think he was last season. He's 7.1% owned. He actually had 8 attacking returns, which was his joint best ever Chelsea performance. James sort of came into his own post restart, so he started 7 of those 9 and came off the bench in the other 2, and he actually created 4 big chances in that time, which was more than any other Chelsea defender. So they're a flat price at 5 million, the same sort of price, or James is, sorry, to get into that back line. Obviously, remains to be seen if Chilwell definitely joins, but it looks likely. There's all that talk that Kepa's going to move on. He's 5 million if he does stay. I don't know how much Caballero is, do you know?
Is Kepa really only 5 million?
Yeah, I think,
right?
I think he dropped down. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Might have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure Kepa's only 5 million. So they're. I mean, I think they've been priced quite fairly in defence considering how poor they were. So yeah. And they've got some good fixtures at the start of the season against teams who were notoriously bad in front of goal last season. So if you were ever going to get on them, yeah, Kepa and Caballero are both 5 million. So yeah, could be something there. All right, enough on Chelsea. Should we move on and talk about? Is it Palace next? I think. Crystal Palace.
Not too much to talk about here. Their fixtures are tough. So obviously Southampton at home to start, then Man United away, Everton at home, and Chelsea away in the first 4. Yeah, 3 traditional top 6. Obviously Everton not quite top 6, but then Southampton at home. You obviously look like we're all sort of backing them to do well this season, and yeah, I think it's an avoid across the board, to be honest, other than possibly Ferguson if he's definitely a 4.0 starter. That's Southampton's game seems like the best chance of a clean sheet, but then maybe Everton at home could be okay, but then after that, yeah, you're not looking at clean sheets anywhere, I don't think. Are you could be okay?
Hurts to mention it, doesn't it? Hurts to mention it. I could see the pain on your face.
You could do worse than him, to be honest. His price is still quite low for someone who's pretty much nailed. He played 37 of 38 games last year. So he is going to tick along. He got 132 points, which is 1 point more than Mopai, and he's 0.5 cheaper. So, his XG is all better than Mopai as well. His XA and all his big chances are all better than Mopai. So around that price, I would think Mitrovic is probably better just because he's a proven goal scorer at 6 million, and he has done it in the Premier League before and has way better fixtures. So maybe I'll stop talking about him.
No, I think like you say, it's tricky to talk about them. So their fixtures are pretty rough. Their home ones are kind of interesting. So their first 5 home matches are against clubs that finished in the bottom half of the Premier League or someone that came up from the Championship. So it may be that's where you get your points from. So that's probably particularly relevant as all 10 of Palace's clean sheets last season came against came against teams that finished 10th or below. So yeah, if you're going to get on them, like you said, Ferguson could be really interesting. Other than that, Guaita, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in goal, 5 million. I think he's stayed the same price as last season. He was their highest point scorer, 132. And he actually outscored Zaha, and he played about 250 odd minutes less. So yeah, please, people, do not go near Wilf this season.
I just don't understand why he's 5 and then McCarthy and Ryan are 4.5. What's the difference between those 3 keepers really and those 3 teams?
I know. Kept a similar amount of clean sheets between them all last season, but yeah, I don't know why. Odd one. I think he got a bit overpriced last season. They just haven't brought it down. Oh, all right. Everton, they had a pre-season game today. Did you see?
Well, they were 3-0 down within 20 odd minutes, I think.
The last time I checked, I think just before we came recording, they clawed 2 goals back with our favourite boy, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, starting or getting a goal and Sigurdsson getting the other. But
I think it was 3-3.
What?
Sigurdsson got 2.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well,
goal and a free kick.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Penalty and a free kick, sorry.
Okay. Well, fair play to them. But otherwise, I mean, that made me go, oh, God. Braithwaite started that one, did you see? 4.5 million. And I think
he's 4-0.
4-0. And he came off though at half time when they were 3-0 down, so that doesn't bode well.
Yeah, I can't see him being a starter, honestly. No. Keane's fit, Holgate's fit, Mina is fit, I think, as well. So he's going to be unless Mina and someone else gets injured, he's a bench and not a pickable option. I don't think.
I think he only got in the team, didn't he? Because Mina and Holgate were injured last season. Is that right?
Exactly that. Yeah.
All right. Was there anyone that interested you at all in this?
So their fixtures are actually kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham at home, away to start with is not good. But then West Brom at home, Crystal Palace away, Brighton at home. Those three there are decent, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably want to own Dina or Holgate at some point this next year. 9 clean sheets on the season, same as Brighton. Yeah, only better than 5 other teams this year. So your Villas and all that sort of stuff. And for an Everton who should be a decent side, that's not enough clean sheets.
No way.
But yeah, Theo Walcott's fit, so maybe we should buy him.
No, Kieran.
No.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Calvert-Lewin, 7 million. There's not the only other 7 million striker is Giroud, who's obviously not going to be nailed this year. DCL, do we know if he's going to be nailed? Not sure. I think he started with Keane today in this preseason, but is Keane going to get more of a chance? Like, obviously, Richarlison didn't play.
Do we know why Richarlison didn't play? Because he should be.
Maybe just extra time off. I don't know. I don't think he's injured. But yeah, he was obviously. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was utterly useless after the post-lockdown. 0 goals, 0 assists. Owned him for that whole time. Never had the chance to properly get rid of him.
Yeah.
And he's kind of cooler than me with those fixtures, but I'm not going there. I hate it. I hate him.
Yeah, he had a really rough end to the season, and when you and I both owned him, so he blanked in every match after the restart. I just think 7 million is a bit of a tricky price point for strikers this year as well. It seems like a bit of a middle of the road one.
It is, yeah, true.
Wood and Mitrovic being pretty much nailed on in their teams, and they're like $1 million and $500,000 cheaper, and sort of have similar prospects, I'd say. Yeah, Everton's a bit like, there's a bit of a theme sort of developing with the clubs, but they have like a fairly favourable stretch of fixtures in the opening 4, 5, 6 game weeks, but not like a completely clear one. So they've got Spurs and Liverpool in game weeks 1 and 5, but like have some decent fixtures around that. They play newly promoted West Brom and 4 sides who finish in the bottom half of the Premier League between game weeks 1 and 7. So the fixtures aren't too bad, but like you say, it's just trying to work out who's going to be good for them. And their post-lockdown form was so mixed. 3 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws. None of them really sort of make me go, ooh, I need one. Remember last season, we were getting so excited about Dean, and we both had him because we thought they looked good. But yeah, this since Carlo's joined, it's not been so good.
They got a couple clean sheets at the start of the last season, and they did all right. And then I owned Sigurdsson as well because I got, he was so cheap, and I thought he'd be on all pens and set pieces and all that, which he is, but he just fell off a cliff and it was just absolutely awful.
Yeah. I don't know what happened after Ancelotti arrived. So they kept, I think it was maybe 5 clean sheets in 20 matches after he took over, and I think only 6 sides had a worse record. So that's not really inspiring any confidence in the Everton backline. And they all had a bit of a price hike as well, because I think all the first choice defenders rose to at least 5 million as well. So yeah, I'm not really that keen on any Everton players at the moment, despite the sort of okay fixtures.
I thought pre-season with Ancelotti might be the sort of time to get something going, but 3-0 down to Blackpool within 20 minutes seems like it's they've just been literally having time off, doing nothing.
Now, I tell you what, the fact that the season kicks off in 3 weeks today, and I see Liverpool have had their first pre-season games today, and they put out pretty much like almost a full strength team, bar maybe 2 or 3 players. I think we're going to have a lot more clues to team starting 11s this time around because we haven't got much time to get the players fit. So I think we're going to be looking at,
like that.
Everton's team looked fairly first choice today, and like I say,
basically bar Richarlison.
Yeah, and same with Liverpool. So I think we're going to get some answers pretty early on this season. But anyway, talk more about that when we know about it. Who's next? Fulham, is it? I think it's Fulham. Yeah.
Okay, so they start with Arsenal at home, Leeds away, then Villa at home, and Wolves away. But I think their run to something ridiculous
is good.
Is very good.
So I think it's game week 2. I've got it if you haven't there. But yeah, game week 2 to 10, they don't play a top 6 side. So that's quite a nice run. Okay.
And then, they've got Sheffield United away as a red fixture for some reason. I can't see them scoring, but it's not, I don't really see it as a red fixture. But great run. probably the best of all teams for the long run at this point.
Definitely.
And Mitrovic, like we said, is Premier League proven. Has done it before. He didn't light up the world, but he's 6 million, and so, if you get on him early and he does anything, he's going to be an early bandwagon like Pookie was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I fancy him to do something against most of these teams because why couldn't he? And amazingly as well, he's something like 20. Well, he's actually 30% owned.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Which is kind of crazy. I guess that's just because of the price point and maybe auto picks as well. But if he does anything, you're probably going to get hurt in rank as well. So I think obviously we haven't got the sort of results from last year because they didn't play in the Premier League. But against Leeds, who they played week 2, they lost 3-0 to them away. So that's not a good sign. But if you need value to get those sort of Aubameyangs and Salads in your team with Trents and all that lot, Mitrovic seems like a good bargain this year.
Yeah, and I think if they're going to get pick-up points, this is a good time to do it. So in defence, I think is it Hector, 4.5 million, who's been pretty much a secure starter since he had a big effect on their defence when he joined. Well, I think in the second half of the season, I think he was paired with Tim Ream, who, to be honest, last time he was in the Premier League is absolutely awful. And he started all 44 of Fulham's Championship matches, so you'd expect him to continue. So if you're looking for some, well, I know he's puffy cheeks out of that, but I don't see who else they're going to put there. Maybe they'll put five in defence. Yeah, but I think like say Mitrovic could be a good bet. Like the ownership is so high, 24 goals last season, and like I said a bit earlier, 140 points last time Fulham were in the Premier League. I did do a bit of a comparison to see how that looked against other players. So Doherty, also priced 6 million this season, scored 167 last season, if that makes sense. But however, only 5 other outfield players under 6 million for this season would have outscored him with that score. So that's not a bad price point for him.
I can see him getting something like that again this year, 140-ish points, 150, with probably 10 goals, 11 goals.
Yeah.
That seems about right. And for someone, around that sort of IU price point as well, who's just gonna sort of just play, tick along and play and help you with the rest of the team's budget. I think that's probably fine.
Should be good. All right. Talking about another promoted team then, Leeds, because I haven't got much more to say about Fulham. Sorry, don't know if you have. They didn't really inspire me that much. Leeds then, they've got little tricky fixtures, I think. So after there's quite excitement to have Leeds back in the Premier League. It's quite cool. But yeah, they haven't really got very good fixtures really. So in the first 6 game weeks, they've got Liverpool away, they've got City at home, and they've also got to battle with the defences of Sheffield United and Wolves. So not exactly that enticing. That Fulham fixture in game week 2 is probably their kindest in the opening run. Don't know. Is there anyone who's really sort of stood out, or have the fixtures there put you off them?
At this point, no, not for me. But I might get that Pascal. I did sort of mention him, Pascal Strujic, or whatever, as a 4.0 defender because Ben White, who I think he's a Rangers player. I might be completely wrong, but he was on loan or something like that last season, but then he played 45 games, so he played in every single game, and he's their usual centre back, and they haven't managed to buy him yet. And there looks to be that they won't manage to buy him at this point. So
interesting.
This Strucci guy could be the starter, who obviously started the last 3 games of the season. So if anyone's going to step up, it seems like it's going to be him, and he's a 4.0. So I might have him on the bench.
That would be really nice. If we had 2 4 million starting defenders come game week 1, that would make that crazy expensive midfield a bit more manageable.
It would, yes, and obviously we hope there's some sort of pre-season games to see how they're looking, because if that Ben White in the centre back is not there, then that Strucci's probably going to play, and we expect him to start the season. So that he's standing out, and then obviously Dallas is someone else. Stuart Dallas, 4.5 million, played mostly left back last season, but did play midfield at times. 5 goals, 3 assists. Only Ben White got more appearances in than last season with 45. So, he's nailed on no matter where he plays. 5 goals, 3 assists. I think that's quite good. And I think I'll probably be tempted by him at some point next season, but not to start with.
I actually saw he missed 7 big chances as well, so he's had some decent opportunities to improve that. I think just having a wider look at Leeds' fixtures, because I was kind of keen to see if it's worth having any other defenders in. So I think it takes until about game week 13 before they get into any good, appealing run of games together. So between 13 and 18, they've got Newcastle, Burnley, Southampton at home, and then got away games against West Brom, United, and Spurs. So I think it's quite it's a shame really, because I think they've got some interesting defensive options, and they were good at the back last season. 19 clean sheets out of 45 in the Championships, not shabby at all. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they start the season, but I wouldn't be, unless that Strucic person is 4 million. I don't think I'm going to have anyone of that in my team.
And I think as bad as Bamford is, he's pretty good value at 5.5.
I didn't expect you to say that on today's show, Kieran. Didn't expect
I'm never going to own him, but he is going to get chances and he is going to score some goals.
Gosh. Yeah,
because they create a lot, but you know, I'm not owning him.
You're not owning him.
He is a terrible player, but he is going to get chances and he will score. So he will get a bandwagon at some point.
What do you think? We'll see if we can. We'll probably forget this by the time game week 1 rolls about. What do you think goals wise Bamford's going to get this season?
6.
6. Okay, I was going to say 8. So okay, we'll try and remember that. We can do that as even numbers. But yeah, I've no interest in Bamford at all this season. The amount of big chances he wastes and the people that sort of slate him for it. I'm looking forward to seeing how bad he's in the Premier League.
Could be a Doherty over a Tierney at the start.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Is it the last one? I think it's the last team of the first preview geek. Are we on to Leicester already?
We are.
Cool. All right. Imagine if we were doing all of them. It'd be a long old show. All right. Leicester. So they kick off against West Brom away, and they got Burnley at home. They go Man City, and they got West Ham, which looks like quite nice fixtures. You've been tweeting about Jamie Vardy, and you've messaged me saying, why are we not getting Vardy's Golden Boot winner? And you're coming at me with all these stats, and I just said, didn't he only score? I had it up here. He scored 6 goals between game week 20 and game week 38, and 4 of them were 2 braces. Kieran, that's not good.
He's streaky, isn't he?
He fell off,
and they always start well. So streaky Jamie Vardy. I
don't know. What do you think about him? 10 million.
He's 10 million. Yeah, he's too expensive, isn't he? I really want to own him. Like, I really would like to own him because he is going to be a big differential. He's only around 12% owned, and for a Golden Boot winner with good fixtures, that is criminal, as I've said in a tweet. So, but he's 10 million, and he doesn't allow a lot of other stuff in your squad, which it's just really annoying. Mitrovic has more ownership than him.
That's mad.
Double his ownership basically. So, I mean, they have no Ricardo or Chilwell, we assume, with their bombing fullbacks. So their attack was stunted at the end of the season because of that. I think in game week 1 to 10 they had about 16 big chances created, because mostly due to those fullbacks, and then 30 to 38 they only had 11. So it did drop off quite a lot, and obviously Maddison wasn't there either. I like Justin as someone who can sort of rotate, but how many clean sheets do I really see there? Like Burnley, West Brom could be. Man City obviously not. Then West Ham I don't see as clean sheet because Antonio looked so good last year. So I think there's maybe 1 out of the first 4 clean sheets. So maybe I need to think about my defence a bit more, I think, because those 4.5s aren't actually filling me with that much confidence at this point. I tell you,
that's a problem with the structure at the moment. I feel with a lot of teams, or mine as well, because they load up so heavy in midfield and attack, and usually because of that, you're ending up playing 4 at the back, and the 4 at the back, there's at least usually 2 rotating in there who are 4.5s, who normally you wouldn't want to be playing week in, week out. Because of the balance, you're going to have to. It's tricky. I just think it's more of a question this season of which Leicester turns up. So they only won 4 of their last 17 games. Really fell off. So they scored fewer goals than 8 other sides in that time. I think game week 3 and game week 6 fixtures against Man City and Arsenal are going to be tough, and should get an idea of how they are. But I think they've got some pretty good games around that. Starting with that trip to West Brom on Vardy. So he had been a bit of a flat track bully last season with 24 of his 30 attacking returns being against clubs finishing 10th or below. That's particularly relevant stat because in the opening 5 game weeks they have the Baggies, Burnley, West Ham and Villa. So like you say, he could be due a good start. But it's his recent form. So between game week 20 and the end of the season, like I say, only scored 6 goals and 2 of them were 2 braces. 12 strikers scored more than him, including Wood Deeney and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The person I wanted to mention, Maddison again, because I haven't seen him in any drafts really. He's still owned by 10%, so I'm going to say a lot of auto selectors. He's 7 million. So I had a little look back to see how he started the season last time outright. So by game week 20, he had 92 points. That was the 5th highest scoring of all mids, and the 4 in front of him were all premiums. They were Mane, KDB, Salah, and Sterling. Which is quite an impressive feat, considering that like the lowest price of those is 11.5. He's 7 million, and he was just tucked in under them. So if he can sort of get back to fitness and get back to playing how he was last season, at the start of it, especially set pieces, corners, he could be good value there. Big if though.
I actually have looked at a draft with him in, but he's just an awkward price point.
Is, yeah.
Annoyingly, because you're so far away from someone like a
Ziyech, maybe
from a Rashford or a Ziyech, but then you have to go to someone like Greenwood then basically. If you want Maddison for a while, somewhere to go is Greenwood, but
or Grealish maybe,
or Foden or Grealish, and it just seems a bit just awkward for me, basically. But I do kind of like him, but at the same time, you never know what you're getting with Maddison. He can blank for weeks and weeks and weeks, but then at other times he can look like the next Ronaldo. It's just, I'm unsure on him at this point. I mean, if you think Greenwood's going to be good value, then Maddison for the first 2 possibly could be ideal. But yeah, what's their second fixture? West Brom, and Burnley. Burnley don't give away much, do they? So how much can we see Leicester scoring in that one? Not much. I think they beat Burnley 2-1 last year at home. So Burnley won't give up much because their team basically hasn't changed at all. I don't think they've signed anyone or sold anyone. So
I imagine their team going to be the same old Burnley, resolute and tough to beat. So
exactly,
can't see much changing.
Yeah. So Vardy and Maddison are luxury picks at this point, I think. They're not essential. If you can fit them as a differential, then go for it. But at this point, I'm not sure. Yeah,
I can kind of agree with that. Just I think, like you say about their attacking fullbacks is really interesting as well. If they're not going to have Chilwell in their team for game week 1, if he moves on, they haven't got Pereira. You saw at the end of last season how much that affected them. So it was only like a month ago. So how much is it going to change in the next 3 weeks? It'd be interesting to see. I don't know. Should we wrap up now? Do you want us to talk about your draft at the moment? I mean, I'm kind of more. I've been looking at my team. I'm kind of focused on thinking that maybe 3 big heavy hitters, like 8.5 million plus in midfield, and 2 4.5 cheapies on the bench. And if I need to switch between premiums, I'm just going to do it from that batch of 3 for the opening game weeks because I feel like the players I want in midfield and up front are so expensive this season. It's just making me auto select 4.5 defenders, which I just have to then play to fill out the 11.
So do you have money in the bank for Son to someone like Bruno?
No, I don't. I don't have any cash in that bank, I don't think.
So you couldn't even get to Rashford?
No, couldn't even get to Rashford. I need to double check, but I'm pretty sure there's absolutely nothing in there.
Do you think that's good, or would you do that? Would you downgrade Davies to get?
I'm not planning. 4.5? I suppose I'm making the team for at least the first 2 game weeks based on Man City and United coming back. So it's a little bit tricky because I don't really want to make a transfer between game week 1 and 2 because you should have enough information to get past that, and then it's just a case of which sort of essential players you're going to get in for game week 3. I don't know. How do you feel about it? Have you sort of set yours up so you'd get rid of someone for game week 2?
Yeah, kind of handling it slightly differently. So at this point, the plan is with this draft would be game week 2 would be Mane to Bruno for that Crystal Palace fixture.
Yeah.
And then obviously Liverpool play Chelsea, so both of them unessential, not needed. and then you obviously, hopefully, Mane will do well in the first game, so get to promote, get the points from that. And obviously, he's only 12% owned, so he's a differential in himself. And then game week 3, Aubameyang to KDB or Sterling. That's the thing. So those big hitters are there for 2 weeks, and then they just go. And then to get the sort of team I want to have from the start, and that will actually free up about 2.2 million in the bank, so I can get someone like a Justin up to a Doherty. I can get a Mitrovic to Martial, maybe. Well, that's actually too far, but an Armstrong up to someone. So that will give me a lot of flexibility, and I like that sort of starting lineup for the first couple weeks, and with the moves that I plan. So it sort of seems to be right at this point. But I kind of want Son, because obviously Son's done really well today in the first fixture, and I'm not sure about Werner yet.
They had a pre-season as well today?
He scored a brace. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Okay.
He scored a brace.
Did Kane play?
And no, he didn't. He's in isolation or something at the moment.
Oh, right.
Because he went on holiday and to a place he shouldn't have done or something.
Oh, right.
And yeah, what was I going to say?
Sorry.
Foyth played well, because Aurier looks like he's about to leave. Foyth started at right back and got a assist or something. He's 4.5 million, which could be an easier way into their defence as well. So
oh, sounds good. We'll talk more about Tottenham when we do the second half of our fixture preview, because we might have some more pre-season notes to feed in to
we'll see how Liverpool do today as well. Hopefully Salah and Mane smashing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Trent's injured, isn't he? Back late this month, I think. I think Klopp said he'll be back in time for the Community Shield final. Yeah,
supposedly Community Shield should be fine, and then it should be fine for the season.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any more you want to add at all?
No, I think we've talked enough.
Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be back probably Tuesday evening, maybe Monday evening, with the second half of the fixture preview. So hopefully there's enough to go on. If you've got any questions about your drafts or any player combinations, drop us a message on YouTube or tweet us at FPL Cougars, like I said a little bit earlier. Cool. All right. Have a good week, everyone. Tinkering, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, chisel.
Bye-bye.